So I titled this episode "Own Yourself," which which is not to be confused with "Get Owned," which I don't think is a good thing. But hey, I'm Kevin Colby, and this is the Real Creative Life podcast. But I had a question from a friend asking me about a domain. Said he wanted to start a website for his. It's actually not in a business. I think he has a B and B, an Airbnb, and he wanted to name it. And he said, "Hey, where's the best place to buy a domain?" So it got me thinking about that, and I wanted to share some thoughts and encourage you on that. So I own a lot of domains. Not I mean not enough to be like a shark, you know the show Shark Tank, but I do own quite a bit. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I do own kevincolby.com. I own kevincolbymedia.com. Right now, it's redirected to I think my other YouTube channel where I just kind of post my projects, yeah, more client work there. But I also own other things. I own faceuporiginal.com. We do something with our little son who has special needs. We call him Little Dude. So we own the URL littledudelife.com and on and on and on. But one of the things that I would highly encourage you to do if you are a content creator or a business owner or whatever. And I don't think this matters whether you have a personal brand or whether you're um how do I want to say it? Whether you're just, think of it as future proofing. Whenever you start something, I tend to think big. I tend to think, okay, is this something that has the potential to make a lot of money, to reach a lot of people? Is it something I might want to do more than once or twice? If that's the case, when I come up with the names I like, I tend to go to GoDaddy. That's where I go. They're not affiliated with this. I've tried to get into their affiliate program several times. Full disclosure, and I've gotten denied every time. No reason, just I get the rejected. And if you're listening to this, that's the blotter sound effect. um, but I just use GoDaddy because they're easy to use. I have an account there. So what I will do is if I'm starting something and I'm like, oh, let me check that out. Like for example, I used to call this podcast "This Week Was the Best Day Ever." Something my daughter said once at the beach where we all got sick. And as we were driving home, she was like, "Well, this week has been the best day ever." And it always stuck. So I actually bought that. I actually own the domain "This Week Was the Best Day Ever." And so one of the things I do is I future proof. And what happens is when I have that idea for a business or a project, and I think, okay, could this be a website? Could this be something I just want to redirect to a YouTube channel or a Facebook group or something? I'll go searching for the domain. Sometimes the domain's taken, sometimes it's not. The more generic it is, in other words, like if you were trying to buy cell phones, it's long gone. In fact, I think that's the one the dude sold for a gazillion dollars because he was thinking about it before. But the reason I like this is because you don't want to put a lot of time into something only to find out that it works and then somebody owns it. There was something I was working on not too long ago, and in my mind it had the potential that it could grow. And I thought, oh, I've got it, I've got the name. And I go to GoDaddy and somebody owns it, and it was a live site. Now sometimes people will buy domain names, URLs, and just sit on them to sell, or maybe they never used them. I worked with a couple of friends on a project for about a year, and we had a name for our group, and somebody had it. And when we went to their website, they hadn't posted in like years. It was all the Lipsum font on there, which is just kind of like the fake wording that you'll see on sites until you change it. And we reached out to them just to see if they would sell it to us, and they wanted some insane amount of money. We were like, nope, sorry, we just changed the name of our group. But the reason that you want to do this is because you can own it. So not only is having a website extremely important. I will always be talking about how important that is. But having that domain name. So, for example, kevincolbymedia.com. Kevin Colby Media is actually the name of my business. I just usually do more things under Kevin Colby, even though there's some people that have Kevin Colby on Twitter and Instagram. But I own my own name, if that sounds weird. But I can redirect Kevin Colby Media to another website. I can redirect it to my YouTube channel. I can redirect it to something else because I own that, because I own myself. So what I would encourage you to do, this is kind of the takeaway here, is that I would encourage you as you're thinking of projects, as you're thinking of your personal brand, as you're thinking of just could this be sustainable and could it grow, to own yourself and see if you can buy that domain. Now, I'm a huge believer in just buying your name. I just think it's kind of cool. There's there's a guy I know that has said every time he has a child, and I say that like he's a rabbit, but wh- he buys uh, a domain with his kid's name in it that they can have forever. I think that's kind of cool. But I think owning your own name is great and protecting what you're working on. So if you're launching something, it's an initiative, it's a nonprofit, it's a business, it's a personal brand, and you got a really cool name for it, like Spiffy Cool Jackets. And you think, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a lot with this. It might be worth spending the money and buying the domain and the URL. Now, one more tip. I would always spend the extra money. I think it's around $7 to get the privacy protection. So like on GoDaddy, I don't know if the other ones work this way, but when you register it, I usually just do a year at a time. It's not as cheap that way, but do a year at a time. Then what happens is you have the option to add privacy protection to it. And I think it's an additional $7 a year, and do it, because I learned the hard way from not doing that for the first 2 or 3. You will get hounded with everybody out there trying to sell you SEO and graphic package and website design and all this other stuff, because your information, if you don't protect it, is public knowledge. They can look up and you see who owns it. There's your contact information and they can get in touch with you. So once I learned that, once I didn't buy that 2 or 3 times because I didn't want to spend the $7, I add that to everything. So, ironically, I've told you that I own kevincolby.com. If you look up kevincolby.com, you won't see any information on it. So, so think about that. It's part of what I do for my business. It's part of what I even recommend this to clients. I've worked with clients before, and we've looked up things and just bought it. I don't buy the domains for them. Now, if you don't want to use GoDaddy, I think there's name.com and domains.com. I don't make any money from any of these guys, unfortunately, but it's definitely worth to own yourself and protect that name and that brand, because you don't want to put a lot of work into it and then it just goes away. But hey, I'd love to hear what you think about this. I use Anchor for my podcast, and one of the reasons I love Anchor, besides being free and easy to use, there's a voice message feature on there. So leave me a message, and maybe I'll share that in a future video podcast, or you can leave me a question if you want to give it a review or things like that. The video portion of this, when I do video, will be on Spotify mainly. I do have a YouTube channel for it. I'm still debating on whether I'm just going to stick to the audio portion for this. And if you ever want to connect with me more, the best way to connect with me is at kevincolby.com. I do offer coaching, but I've also got things on there like resources I use and my gear and things like that. So just wanted to mention that to you. And I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember to keep using your gifts and make an impact in the world. We'll see you.